We're
starting our second panel discussion. So the second panel discussion is about innovative financing mechanisms and solutions that could be helpful for the development of community networks in Armenia. Today we have our panelists who are really experienced in the field, and they'll share their experience. We'll understand how's it being done in different countries, those financial mechanisms, financial solutions, and about the approaches that we have currently in our country. I invite the panelists, Armen Muradyan, is the general manager of ARPINET company. George Kleisiaris, board member and administrator. He's from Sarantaporo.gr company from Greece.
It's always difficult to pronounce, not local names. Halil Ibrahim.
Halil Ibrahim represents Internet Society, the Kyrgyz chapter.
Thank you. Adrian, Senior Policy and Advocacy Manager, Internet Society. And Juan Peirano, Senior Policy Advisor from Internet Society. He will join virtually. And also, I
also would like to invite Armen Demirkhanyan. He's from the High-Tech Industry Ministry of Armenia. Well, thank you. So today we are going to discuss certain issues related to financial solutions, because very often the communities that are really remote, it's very hard to involve the operators to make them to provide services and to ensure accessibility. That's why in the whole world they're looking for different solutions in order to unite those communities. And today we'll try to talk about all of that, and let's see what can we apply and what does it exist there, and also try to apply this international experience in Armenia. So the first question I would like to address to Juan Peirano from the Internet Society. Juan, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Hope you can hear me okay there as well.
Juan, we would like to know from the Internet Society perspective, and how do you see the financial solutions, and how you are aiming toward infrastructure to bridge the digital divide, which are some of the most pressing regulatory changes that should be implemented in order to unlock new financial mechanisms. Can you talk about this question, please?
Yes, thank you very much, Kristine, and thank you all for joining us in this panel. And for the panelists, I'm really happy to be here virtually, but I'm here still. So and my colleague Adrian is there as well. So we will work in a tandem for to answer all of your questions if possible. But regarding these questions, I think, or from the perspective of the Internet Society, we are in a very special place in terms of the financing mechanism structure. Internet Society, what it does is it gives grants. We are a non-for-profit and we give grants. What that means is that we generally are at the first stages of development of infrastructure. So we are not angel investors because we don't require any return for our investment. We give grants with that initial money that is required to get projects started. But some of we believe the most important regulatory challenges and most pressing regulatory challenges happen after that seed money is invested. So after our participation as ISOC, as the Internet Society gives that money, things get going, infrastructure gets developed. So what's the next stage? And I think there is where the most pressing regulatory challenges are. And as always, we have, this is twofold and you have different perspectives depending on the stakeholders, but you have the public sector perspective and the government perspective and the government financial support. And also you have the private sector. In regards to the public sector, and I was very glad to hear on the first panel that was mentioned also there on stage and also in the chat from some virtual participants about the universal service funds and the universal service obligations, because that's one of the main tools that governments and regulators have to enable that second bit after everything is going, and when you have the infrastructure deployed and you are serving the first people and you try to reach sustainability with your complementary access solutions such as community networks, the next stage to achieve that sustainability, in many cases from the public sector, is supported by universal service funds. And here, the main challenges that we have is that in many cases, and what we have learned through the years of supporting community networks and other complementary connectivity solutions, is that universal service funds are supposed to be used to connect people in the hardest to reach places and rural areas and very unserved areas are not used for that purpose. And in many cases are used for balancing government accounts more than actually being used for that purpose. And because the regulation was very well put at first to use universal service funds, they cannot use them for something else. They cannot use them to, I don't know, buy new chairs for the government, but they are not using it either to connect the unconnected and connect the rural areas. So from the public sector perspective, one of the key issues will be to make sure that all the provisions for the use of universal service funds in those countries where they are available, because they are not available in every country, they are used for that specific purpose. And then on the private sector, so the thing is, the private sector generally has a for-profit focus, and the government can have a little bit more wiggle room to support projects that are not necessarily sustainable at some point. But the private sector plays a key role as well. And what is happening right now is that sometimes the private sector doesn't have, because of the conditions of the markets, they don't have the necessary tools to support solutions for connectivity that are certainly risky, that are, for example, community networks, because what generally happens is that these complementary access solutions in very remote areas do have a high risk of return. Generally, their income is not very sustained. They have to go through many hurdles to actually achieve sort of like a sustainable plan and achieve a pseudo business case to be supported. But if the conditions are there to make the public sector putting funds available as in the form of microloans or very low interest rate loans for infrastructure in rural areas, or even loans that are supported by those universal service funds that the government has available, that would enable the private sector to participate as a funding source for these solutions that are pretty much the most important solutions that we have for connecting the unconnected. And I think Natalia Moshu from ITU in the previous panel mentioned about competition, and the importance of. So we have a set of funding mechanisms and business models that have connected 2/3 of the population, the same business solutions cannot be used for the harder places to connect, because if they had worked, everyone will be connected at this point, and that's not happening. So that's why we need to dig a little bit deeper and see how we can innovate both from the public and the private sector. Thank you, Kristine.
Also, I know about the Partners to Connect program, where all the organizations made a coalition to create to help this 1/3 world to connect. Can you tell about it some words? What you do there, and why ISOC also joined this coalition?
Yes, absolutely. We believe that this effort from the ITU development sector was a great effort. It's also with other partners as well. But the Partners to Connect is a group of people that really want to connect the unconnected, and the idea is to do it by pledging. So by putting your name forward and say, okay, we are going to do this by 2030. Generally, many people have done this pledges by 2030, and we did our own. Our own is it's a little bit shorter in time, and it's looking to be achieved by 2025. But the idea is we pledge to connect 100 complementary connectivity solutions. That includes community networks. So in a sense, we are trying to connect 100 communities in the next 3 years, and also to train 10,000 people in deploying in the technologies of infrastructure deployment. And that's our pledge, and many other partners have done the same, and we are very, very happy. And during WTDC, the World Telecommunications Development Conference last year in Rwanda, we heard about many other member states that were also pledging for community networks, and that was a really, really pleasant surprise. And so what has happened from that point forward, from 2022 to now, is that many of those pledges had been combined, and people have been talking to each other, and synergies had been found. So I guess from that perspective, the partnerships to connect had been happening, and we are very pleased to be there. And I know, Kristine, you were there as well, and many others in this panel, and probably in the audience have been there as well. So yeah, we have a pledge just like the others, and we hope that if you see that pledge there in the pledge platform, please contact us if you have something that you want to share with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Պարոն Demirkhanyan, կցանկանայի հարցս
Mr. Demirkhanyan, I would like to bring all of us back to Armenia and understand our government, our state. Do you have any plans to connect the communities? Mr. Pawasyan said whether we have subsidy projects. Would you please say a few words about these subsidy projects and how the communities can apply? Because today here we have representatives from different communities, and also from some communities they are present here online, virtually. So they would be interested to know how could they apply for this financial assistance and what are the procedures. Well, thank you. So government of Armenia back in 2006 has adopted a program on subsidies. A special decree about subsidies. By that, the government takes the pledges to subsidize certain percentage of the financing of installing fiber optic cable infrastructure in remote marshes. Why is this, or was this done because the operators they were having a hard time to install these fiber optic networks, and as Ucha said, in mountainous areas, and financially they were not profitable, not sustainable. So government decided to take certain part of the burden on its shoulders. Now, well, we have in 100% of settlements, we have coverage by cell phone connection, while 95% the LG networks, but only in 23% of the settlements have telephones, and FTC technology is like 60% of the population is covered. What figures are not bad, but we are thriving towards 100% coverage. Now, the decree that I'm presenting to you, this is the following. This is about the chart of providing subventions to the local communities from the central government of Armenia. And there you can see it includes the application forms, how to apply, when to apply. That means for May's deadline for each year, in order to have something, some subsidy in the budget of the next year. As you know, as you see, all the necessary documents are there. So the schemes, the pattern decisions, of elderly council in the local governments or others. So everything is in details. And then we have interest rates. Oh no, the proportion. What's the percentage of subsidies? Depending on the vicinity to the capital city. If it's this settlement is less than 60 kilometers away from the Yerevan, so only 10% of the expenses are subsidized by the government. It's more than 60 kilometers away from Yerevan, but less than 30 kilometers to the Mars centers, 15%. So more than 100 kilometers away from Yerevan, 20%. High mountainous areas, 30%, and the next to border areas, 55%. So if the community applies, does operator pay? No, the network belongs to the community. The community is the owner. Community makes the investment, and then they give the network to operators for their operation. I'm talking about installation of fiber optic cables, not just to install a pole for 5G and spend $200,000. No, not about that. A few words about the solutions. We spoke about that. Last month, I came down from the border areas. It was very interesting practice to teach in order to teach people, to government, or those people who don't know about the problems that exist in those remote settlements. One of the easiest solution is take that public officer to your villages and make them to live 1 month without internet there. Immediately they'll find the solutions, believe me. They'll find the solution right away. Well, thank you. One more question. Mr. Bosan mentioned that there are no applications yet. Now, what is your opinion? Why do they don't apply? Maybe people didn't live there, but if it's about the community itself, of course, the local government, they always have internet, but they at least understand what are the problems of the community. Why don't they apply? Maybe it's a complicated, the application, maybe they are not aware of what's the reason. So, good question. We have an R list system, and from there you can see all the government decrees, and from 2006 it's on internet. But it would be correct, of course, that communities themselves, so it would be good that they make aware all the operators that work in their area. Maybe there are some small operators, they are not aware that there is an option to get subsidy from the government. As far as the system is complicated, well, any government system has its complications. It takes a bit long, and they demand a bit more paperwork, but the financing goes down. So that's why the communities may overcome these difficulties for that purpose. Thank you. I got one more question. Maybe the community, which is going to pay the rest of the expenses, maybe they don't have enough money. They are not ready to pay 80 or 90%, make the expenses, because government will subsidize, let's say, 10% or for installation of broadband network, it's quite an expensive thing, and they don't have enough money in their budget. It's not going to be profitable. There will be no return from that, and maybe this is the obstacle, this is the impetus not for applying. Definitely, the community has to make a decision about its priorities. Is the connectivity their priority or not? So it will support the education sector, of course, so the children will stay connected. As far or the health issues, telemedicine can get developed. And then I saw about the borders, the Ministry of Defense. They have to be interested to have good connection with their troops on the border. So the community has to have the whole picture. It's not just a small thing in a village, just to have a telephone and then one internet spot in community leaders' room. It's going to boost also tourism. It's going to generate indirect income to the local budget. Well, agriculture will get developments, the IoT technologies will develop, so all those will generate additional financial flows. You can't view communication as just communication. You have to have broader view over the communication. As long as we're talking about Armenia, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Muradyan, who is the head of general manager of ARPINET company. Mr. Muradyan, you got a big network and you provide TV and telephone services. Would you please share your experience in remote areas when there's no enough? Are you planning to provide connectivity in those communities, and how we are planning to what's the basis of choosing communities for providing connection? Why don't you go to remote areas, really remote areas? Would you please tell us which are the communities that are left out of your plans? Very well. Because we are for-profit organization, naturally, we're looking at the communities where we can generate return. At least our investments will be paid back in 5 years. And those remote communities, well, yes, we do have some projects that we carried out, but in reality, the investment there will be paid back in 10 years. We have that experience as well. But here, very important to have government support for going to these remote areas. We have received quite a bit of support from Public Utilities Commission. So other countries, they say they have, in other countries, operators, they claim they have always problems dealing with their commissions. In our case, in Armenia, they were always very supportive. So this project that we are talking about, I'm sure nobody has discussed them with the operators. That's why the result is zero. Because the communities themselves, they are not network builders and network installers. So subventions, they shouldn't go to the communities. Subventions, subsidies, they should go to operators. But because if you give that money to the local government, the communities they don't care. They would rather put asphalt on a road rather than to install a fiber optic cable. This is the reason that in next to border communities, investments are senseless, commercially senseless. But we have an experience with the union of operators, unions with ISOC, but this was just an example, nothing more. And the government helps, then it's okay. And one more thing became a very serious problem. So the service fees, they go up. This is related to the polls. And in the ministry, we have discussed the problem with the polls. It's a very serious problem. A lot of communities, and no operator may go there. Or if the investments are made, but then they increase the fees for the polls, it's impossible to get them investment back or paid back. So it's a serious problem. Are you talking about broadband internet? So the infrastructure is not supportive. So the operators are not well. Yeah, there is a support related to with the same poles. Government has to regulate the prices or give chance to the operators to build the poles, not just. So for the electric power, those poles, they are built in a very privileged environment. But when an internet operator wants to install poles, then the prices are much higher. So it has to be regulated. Are there any solutions not to use the poles but make underground cables? Or it's more expensive? Yes, of course, it's more expensive. And services much harder. One more thing, which is related again to financial solutions for the operators, maybe provision of concessional loans with low interest rates. Do you see these kind of solutions, or will it solve the problem, or the investments are too high for reaching these remote areas? So on behalf of ARPINET, I can say with the same subvention project, we are ready to invest. We don't subsidize the interest, but when we take a loan, if they subsidize the interest rate, that would be a big support to the operators. So we are ready to invest the principal, but the interest rate.
Question is for George Kleisiaris. Do I pronounce your surname? Thank you very much. Could you please share with us if there are differences between the community network model, such as Sarantaporo, and traditional commercial telecom operators in rural or remote areas with low population density in terms of financial investment efficiency?
Yes. As already mentioned, commercial operators usually make investments and they focus on profitability. On the other side, community networks, the community networks model, focus on building local infrastructures that meet local needs, local communities' needs, of course, in a sustainable way, instead of focusing on profitability. This model, the community networks model, because of its social purpose, can achieve more with much less budget due to the cost sharing, volunteering work, and know-how sharing between community networks. On the other hand, commercial operator, they have to invest part of its budget for all the above, even for maintaining or building know-how. So I think what we have saw from our experience is community networks model adds more value to such an investments. We managed to produce more impact, more infrastructure with the community models, with the community networks model, especially in rural areas. In rural areas, usually we have to make big investments, and you service little people, not like in the cities. At the same time, we see that at least in the EU, in the European Union and in Greece, usually a lot of funding sources are focused on commercial operators to cover those needs in rural areas instead of supporting community networks. With community networks being treated as a low priority alternative, and they see it as an experiment. But I think community networks have proven their efficiency during recent years in various countries. And the problem is that there is no clear legal base that would ensure and differentiate and mostly facilitate any innovative financial support mechanisms to support the community networks. I think the first thing we should do is to build this legal base. I think community networks should be regulated somehow, or at least be recognized. We see a lot of funding coming from European Union or government, and community networks, they don't exist for them. It's something they don't know. So we can never apply for such funding. And I think it's very critical.
You are getting a license to provide services in your country or not? For example, we had to get a license in Armenia in order to be allowed to provide these services, even if it is community network.
As it is now in Greece, let's say the legal base, even if you are a small community network or a very big telco, it's the same for the government. And usually you don't have the resources, either human resources or economical, financial resources for such procedures. So you don't exist for them.
It's the same in Armenia, with lack of resources, but the regulator helped us very much to do all this paperwork and get this license. And it's about $250 per year to maintain this license. It's not big money, but for community network, it's really big money. Not for operators, but for us as well. But they help us with their resources, how to fill all these documents, how to do it. So we are very thankful for it, but still it is a problem, because if community wants and don't have this capability to do all this paperwork, it's really hard for small communities to receive the license and also pay in advance this $250 per year. Okay, and what financial mechanism could be put in place to support the sustainability and the development of community networks in Greece? Share your ideas.
As I already said, I think we should first start with creating a legal base and to recognize community networks. And then after we do that, I think community networks will be able to apply for funding or for Juan mentioned before about universal funding projects. We cannot apply at the moment for such a project, even if this funding should target community networks and initiatives like us in order to provide these services in rural areas. So I think we should first see the legal base, recognize the community networks, have in mind when such funding programs coming into the discussion, have in mind that we also have community networks that should take advantage of such funding. And maybe we should also try to collaborate to bring together commercial operators with community networks. I think they shouldn't see us as a competitor. Maybe they should see us as partners. We are going to places and rural areas that they don't interested to go because they see no profit from these areas. And we are willing to go there. We volunteer to go there because it's our homelands, it's our villages, it's our country. So we should find ways to collaborate with even with commercial operators to fulfill those targets.
Thank you. It's the case for Armenia. We collaborate with operators, and ARPINET is the best example of it, because the community that we are connected, now ARPINET is supporting with the network, and they also provide free internet to the school, local school, and another telecom company, Rostelecom, also opened the robotics labs in this school in order to help children to learn, and provided all the equipment, everything. So they don't see us as a competitor, but trying to support us also for helping the community to grow, to learn, and to use the internet in meaningful way. So I can share later our experience, how we managed to do it, and Armen Muradyan is also next to you. Thank you, Tal. Thank you for a great presentation. And I would like to ask next question to Halil Ibrahim from Kyrgyzstan. Could you please share your experience about the topic, about the financial solutions, and what you do in your country? Can you open the presentation,
Bring up my
please?
presentation. Yeah. In Kyrgyzstan, we have successfully launched 3 community networks. Two of them are directly under our. Now it's the second one. Two of the community networks are were built directly under our control. The both two community networks employ different business models. You can start sliding it, please. Yeah. For example, in this map, you can see that all those networks are in vastly different locations in our country. For example, the Susamurnet community networks was launched in 2019 and 2018. This one there. All right. The first community networks has currently connected 200 users. Each user pays $10 a month for unlimited bandwidth, and it's pretty good currently working. And also, this community networks employs 5 to 10 employees at the location. So we successfully could educate local professionals, so they can maintain and stay in the village. The sustainability model of the first one is that when ISP earns certain amount of the data plan fee monthly, it returns 10% back to the budget of our community network, and then that budget is getting to be used for maintenance, scaling up, salaries for the employees, and taxes. Of course, it didn't work perfectly in the beginning. We had tons of problems. The ISP often would refuse. Also, there was that one moment that we lost half a year of our accumulated finances because there was some inconvenience in the agreement. So, but eventually, now it is being sustainable, and it is being afloat. The funds are enough to keep the community networks at 0. So of course we cannot earn a lot of income. So it is working, and this is an example when we used our first accumulated finances to fix our welding machine, and we also got 10 kilometers of fiber. And the second one in Osh, the region of Osh, is Nohatnet. This community networks wasn't funded by ISOC, but we worked together with local entrepreneurs and we raised money. And this community network went very successful. So now they almost expelled other ISPs from their location. So as you can see, this is a pretty big town, and currently they serve like over 5,000 users, and they are starting employing hundreds of people. They're starting to develop their own software even. So they went very successful. And then beginning to the third community network is this was done in the village of Zardale. This location is very hard to reach, and also the village doesn't have electricity, power lines, everything. That would be, despite being very far away to reach, even it adds more challenges to solve. In this place, we used solar batteries and solar panels to power the equipment, but the ISP doesn't earn much because we have point-to-point connection until the village, and for the ISP it is as one single user, and the payment is like $30 a month for 100 megabits per second bandwidth. And of course, we can't agree on doing some 10% return here because there is nothing to return. And in this village, what I want to share is that local population has a very widespread culture called ashar. It's a local term for, so local population, when there is some problems or they want to build the road or they want to fix something, they just gather up some people, they bring up some money from their pocket, and they start to solve their problems. For example, in this picture, they had the landslide and their irrigation channels were destroyed. So they are doing together, solving their own common problem. And because of this widespread culture of ashar in the local population, they also helped us. We saved on manpower. We saved on a lot of things, actually. So we spent something like $7,000 for whole project. This is the other business model that is currently is used by the most of the community networks. So, and then this, which is being currently this community network is getting more income sources because when we launched this solar powered systems, so other investors got interested, and someone invested to build these street lights through the village. Even if it doesn't have electricity, they still built it. So it's very interesting. And recently, it works. Everything works perfectly. Of course, there are sometimes outages, something gets destroyed, and as always, they just get also municipality is allocated some budget for them monthly. And if some problems go, they just spend that money to fix their problems. And in the winter, they had, the batteries would die because of the cold. And then the local smart guy decided to dig a hole in the ground and bury the batteries. So we agreed and made up some special case, waterproof case for that, and it worked through the winter. And so it's just we are surviving out of our creativity. Yeah. So recently we got news that some NGO is starting to build a tourist business there because of they got some famous. They got really famous because of that. When we finished this project, the news were running this topic for like a month. So it's also giving a publicity, and finally the location is getting more and more interest by the investors. So we hope that this project will be staying afloat as long as they don't have electricity and high quality ISP service. So this is how our 3 community networks are working, and on the way is the 4th one, where we'll be applying the experience from the first 2 and from this last one too. So the final images I want to share is that these are girls using internet in local school. Also because other challenges that we noticed that this region is very far away, and traditions are very old, and the girls have to, because our country is mostly Islamic, and girls can't leave the house, and so when we set up this Wi-Fi, so they finally can come out, they have special locations together, and so these are very happy outcomes that we are having. Thank you. Let's finish my presentation.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And I'm interested what financial solutions you used for it, from donors, or how you managed to bring the internet to this community.
All the first and the last one were financed by ISOC Global to kickstart them. For the first project, we used something like $20,000 to launch it. So after that, the project is going on its own. And the second one was founded by the ISOC Global. And so these are the kickstart projects that we are getting from ISOC.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And Adrian, the next question is for you. On capacity building, what efforts do you believe are more impactful to address the lack of funding mechanism available for the hardest to reach places? As we see, when we bring internet, we need also to enable the people to develop the capacity. Please.
Testing. Thank you, Kristine. So it's wonderful to see the internet.
Yeah, okay. I am sorry.
Okay. It's great to see great examples of how the internet brings opportunities to everyone who connects to it, who wants to connect to it. And I think if you ask me, why don't more people know about all these new innovative funding mechanisms? I think at the heart of the matter, it is that not enough people know about community networks. Not enough people know that, oh, they can actually be part of the internet from the last mile. It does not have to be centrally planned by the government, the regulator. Of course, you work together, but maybe not enough people know the possibility that, oh, actually, if we work together as a village, as a community, we can be part of this global network. So I think the first thing is to raise awareness about this possibility, this prospect of that, if you want to, you can be part of the internet. You can benefit from all the benefits and the opportunities that it brings. And that is why at the Internet Society, we have been championing this cause for many years, for I think more than 10 years now. And speaking of funding mechanisms, recently we published a really interesting report with a few interested partners like Connect Humanity, like APC and Connectivity Capital on specifically this topic. So if any of you are interested, feel free to ask me. I'm happy to share a link to the report with you. But we do, of course, more than issuing reports and statements or putting things on our website. We also engage global communities like Halil Ibrahim in Kyrgyzstan and in Greece for partners for many years of ours. It is another reason why we're here today, to share with more people that, how is it different from the traditional model of connecting people to the internet, where you rely on team or UCOM hearing. There are other possibilities. You can work together and connect remote communities. So that's the first part. It's about awareness building before you even try to build capacity. So once more people know about community network as a model, I feel that we can start training more people on the different funding options there are, and typically, I'll give you an example. For in our grant systems, Internet Society issues grants to applicants around the world, right? So we receive applications from around the world, and in our application we ask them, do you have a viable sustainability plan? If so, what it is. At the point of application, we want to know what your plans are. Once the seed funding, perhaps of the first year or two, if that funding dries up, what your plans are. So it's great to hear it from Halil Ibrahim about the communities staying afloat on their own, and of course the local example, generating some income from renting the line to an operator. So these are really creative, innovative ways that I think we try to make more people understand and know about. Yeah, that's basically my response. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you, Adrian. Yes.
I would like to add what Adrian said. I totally agree that we should make more awareness about community networks model. We should share awareness on this topic as much as possible. One thing is that. The other thing that I think the most community networks face is the backhaul connectivity. How do you access the core internet? At least in our case in Greece, this was our biggest problem. It's like you're trying to access a lake, you cannot access it, but if you have the permission to access it, even making all the plumbing that is required to bring the water in your house, I think somehow you will find a way to build it. Of course, grants to kickstart such a project is very helpful. But when the community understands that there is a lake there that you can have access and bring the water to your house, I think the community will respond very quickly. So share awareness about community networks and break the barriers that don't keep us away from the internet core. Backhaul connectivity. We have to see what happens with this problem.
Yeah, thank you very much. And Adrian, Juan, are there any steps that the Internet Society is taking to enable these solutions for internet for financial sustainability? You told that you are asking how it will work. Maybe other steps you have that you are doing and in perspective of Internet Society. Thank you.
I don't know. Adrian, do you want to take that or should I?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and I'll add on later. Huh?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And first of all, before answering your question, Kristine, I would like to, because this panel is great, and I'm thrilled to hear the experiences, and I would like to take a moment to express my gratitude to the panelists and the people working on the ground, because they are truly making a change for people's lives, and that's very very important. And I think Mr. Armen Muradyan mentioned that people in the communities are not network engineers, or they are connecting. They don't know how to connect, and I will add that's correct. And just the word "yet." So community members are not yet network engineers. You can always bring the knowledge to those communities and help them. And I think Halil, Ibrahim mentioned community networks. Hiring people in the local areas and bringing the capacity building to them. So things don't happen until they happen. So I guess that many people can learn how to connect. And I love the terminology that Ibrahim used, Ashar. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I think there is a version of Ashar in every community, in every country around the world. And we should take the time to know what the Ashar is in every community, because I think once people understand what the value of the internet connection brings to them, they are going to keep it, and they are going to cherish it, and they are going to maintain it, and they're going to make the best they can to keep that internet connection going. And Georgios mentioned the backhaul and also the partnering, and I think that's exactly what is going to happen between communities and operators that have a for-profit focus. We need to complement each other. There's no one single solution for everything, and hoping that there will be a single solution for everything, it's not the right way forward. So I'm really glad that we are all sharing this today. And this is a long way of saying that we are trying to put ourselves out of our comfort zone at the Internet Society and try to understand more about the business models that people can use to achieve sustainability in their different communities. Because as Adrian mentioned and others mentioned at the panel, we are the seed money. We know how to give money and with no strings attached, in the sense that we would like to, we don't expect a return on investment on that money. What we would like to see is communities and people getting connected. So, but what happens after us? And one of the report that Adrian mentioned is the first step that we are taking in this journey of understanding more how in different places, taking into account different circumstances, how we can apply a framework or best practices in each one of them. And I think this is something that every community members need to think about, how to take a little bit of the knowledge from the business and try to apply it, even if it's not for profit, because you need to maintain and you need to operate a community and a network. And in many cases, you need to have administrative support, you need to have a billing system, you need to have a way of people that can pay for that service, and all of that comes from business. Again, as Georgios was mentioning, this complement between the business and the non-profit operators, and this is what we're trying to do. We hope that at some point in the future, in the near future, we'll have more capacity building training courses being built about sustainability and how you can create new business models and innovative business models that fit your own circumstance. And thank you, Kristine. And I'm sorry I took so long to respond.
Very much, and thank you for ISOC for all these initiatives that we can benefit, and thank you for presenting everything. And now I think we can take the questions from the audience if there is. Խնդրեմ, եթե հարցեր ունեք, կարող եք տալ պանելիստներին, պանելիստները կարծում եմ պատրաստ են պատասխանել։
Please ask your questions, if any, to panelists, so if they're ready to answer. Any questions, please?
My question is
Իմ հարցը
related with the universal funding.
միասնական ֆինանսավորմանն է վերաբերում։
Is it
Արդյոք
acceptable?
ընդունելի է
What's the main challenges of this model of funding?
եւ նաեւ որոնք են
I mean, universal
մարտավերները
plan.
ունիվերսալ ֆինանսավորման պլանի հետ կապված։
Juan, maybe you or Adrian can.
Juan, թե դուք Adrian ներողություն, ոչ է։ Yes, հնարավորություն ունեի, բայց
He will repeat it.
It's related with a plan because Georgia is thinking about to launch universal funding model, and we're about to create white paper for this regulation. So what's your opinion? It's very interesting to share. What's your opinion? What's experience actually with these models of funding of end users?
Thank you, Juan, and it's great to hear that Georgia is entering this path of bringing universal service funds or a form of universal service fund to the country. I think Natalia Moshu mentioned the ITU and the policy regulatory frameworks at ITU. There are many good experiences about universal service funds around the world. They have been applied in many instances with success. If you ask me, I think that the model that Brazil is currently following, it's a very good example of how to use. They had billions of dollars sitting in their public arc to use for universal service funds that were not used. And one of the things that I would recommend, it's not my recommendation, but it's a recommendation in general, that the public funding needs to have a very clear way. So the regulatory framework needs to be very clear on how and when to use those funds, because one of the challenges that some of these funds have, and I think Georgios mentioned this before, is that because there's no legal acceptance of some of these complementary connectivity solutions, such as community networks, they cannot access them, and those are the one that needs to access those funds the most. So once this the layout of these frameworks is laid out, it's very important to recognize all forms of connectivity solutions, including community networks, because that will pave the way forward for those communities to access these funds. As always, Ucha, we are here to help and happy to collaborate with you and the government in Georgia to see how this paper is moving forward. So thank you for the question, and hopefully it's a very general question and a very general answer. So hopefully you have some answers there. Thank you.
He shows that it's okay, and he will collaborate with you. Do you see Ucha or not? I think yes.
Yes, I see him. Yeah,
Great.
cool.
So are there any questions? Այլ հարցեր ունենք դահլիճից։ Այո, պարոն Մկրտումյան։
Other questions from audience? Yes, Mr. Mkirtumyan. From these discussions, I understood that we call that the operators work with zero income, without any income. For the communities to be developed as they wish, we have to educate the community, municipalities, and rural municipalities for them to understand the importance of internet. So we have to deal with this. But where is the role of the government here? I keep recalling Margaret Thatcher's when the mines in England were closed down, hundreds of thousands miners were left without employment. And Margaret Thatcher undertook the responsibility to educate all these people and retrain them for other occupation, and then were employed in a different occupation then. If we make a call for the society and the operators, and where is the role after it all? The role of government, apart from partial support. Should they have other role? I think this is the government's task, and they have to be involved in these activities. Thank you. Thank you. The question requires an answer or no? There's just a statement, yeah. As you mentioned, apart from subsidizing, the government should undertake other toolkit as well, which is to explain to the communities why do they need this internet, not leaving it with one party only. We shouldn't tell the operators that you should make money. They're commercial organizations, they have to make money. The community should know where to use this internet and where this money from which were spent before. And the same example, the sources of electricity, tourism flows, operating diaries, having new farms, new technologies developing with the use of internet. All of this, once they understand this all, that they can take from internet since then they would start investing for their own development. Part is provided by the government, the other by the community. In this program I talked about subsidies, there is a provision that if there is a donor organization which could be operator, then the government subsidies are expanded. If there is another contribution, then the state expands its contribution as well. These are the models which could be discussed, and then solutions could be found. A comment or a question, please.
Yes, okay.
I just want to add a joke comment. When we had a meeting with the ministry like a half a year ago, we also were raising such a question, and one representative for the ministry responded that, guys, please don't complain that government is not helping. Be grateful that government is not intervening. We have this problem in our case.
For the joke and for making it easier. Yes.
Speaking, when I was in Greece, this co-funding issue, there was interesting experience in Greece. There was a common pipeline was constructed, and it contained electricity, communication lines, everything. We contribute all together. We make one pipeline, and there is no any other operation. This is universal. All of the sectors using their funds for these remote communities or these difficult to access communities could benefit from this co-funding principle. Thank you. The role of the government, of course, it's big, and there should be steps taken for the communities to join, because internet access to internet is critical for a country like us being in a war situation. I think state should make more investment in this, not for the communities to make their own contributions, but also to have other solutions, including the infrastructure for internet to be of broader access for the society.
In Zoom chat. Can we check? Adrian, can we see if there is it?
I think there are no questions from the chat, so.
Yeah, okay. In that case, we still have 10 minutes. I would like to ask a question to George, because you talked about rural areas, and I want to know what is the percentage of connected cities in the country, and what is left. And if it is not connected, it means that there is no internet at all, or there is some internet, mobile, or something. What is the percentage, if you know the numbers, please?
I don't know the exact numbers, but I know that still in our area, the villages around Sarantaporo, we still have villages and farms outside of the villages that are still not able to connect through a commercial ISP. Unfortunately for them, there is a community network there that they serve them. But this is not the case all over the Greece. We have a lot of mountainous regions in Greece, and they face such a problem. And also there are a lot of islands in Greece. Usually in the summer, it's crowded. They have a lot of people there in the islands. In the winter, everybody goes away. So it's not profitable for commercial ISPs to invest in such areas. Even if in some areas there is a fiber deployed, they don't give service because it's not sustainable for them. That's why.
It's when people are there during the summertime, right?
In some places, even not for these months. We have many beaches that are totally unconnected. People want to go there to enjoy the sea, but at the same time, they feel isolated. So we have small children yelling at their parents, okay, we should leave this beach, go somewhere else because I don't have YouTube or anything like that. Also, we have seen that we have a great problem, which is not, I suppose, not a problem only in Greece. We have villages that are more and more, they're getting emptied. People are living rural areas. They want to move to cities, to nearest towns. Even our village, Sarantaporo, every year we see that more and more people are leaving the village to go for the nearest town and city. And it's very sad to see those places losing their population. On the other hand, I really believe that deploying broadband services and the community networks model, I think, is the model that could do that in those places. I think helps with this problem. We have seen it in our case. One of the great supporters of our initiative, even it was a surprise for us, was elder people, grandparents.
Yeah.
They wanted to install a router in their house in the village because they knew that their grandchildren would want to come and stay longer in the village. So in some cases, even there is infrastructure in place, it's not used because it's not profitable. So I think we should support community networks in order to fulfill this need.
Yeah, thank you for your answer. It's the case. We have վերջին հարցը կուզեմ ուղղեմ պարոն Muradyanին.
And the last question I would like to ask for Mr. Muradyan before we finish. Mr. Muradyan, in some countries, some operators are considered as competitors to community. And you cooperate, and the community network model, which is selected, you rent the line which is laid out. Is it financially normal to provide service to the community, or you're somehow, as Mr. McCortman says, you get less revenues, or you get zero revenues by providing service to the community? You provided the free internet, you laid the network. I wonder if it's a negative impact for your business, or you suffer somehow. If these kind of communities will continue, you will be able to like and provide your services. We have been always involved in social programs, irrespective to the nature, if it's provision of internet or a cultural program. We even participate in street lighting projects. As to the renting, it's a regular phenomena. If the operators rent it from each other, it's more beneficial rather than building your own line. If one operator builds and the others rent, this is beneficial. So we will continue participating in this kind of programs in the future too. No more questions. Sorry, if there are no questions, let's summarize. Now, once we summarize, we will go for lunch break, an hour long, and then we'll come back. I will present our experience, how we build our community network. Where did we start from? Where are we now? We will present in details, and then we'll have another panel on technical issues and opportunities, and then the internet community, internet society plans for community network ceremony, and the people will be presented who were active in this. So stay with us. I'll be back to the conference room at 3 o'clock. There will be interesting presentations. Thank you.